With unmatched determination and perseverance when it comes to achieving life goals, INFJs can be truly ambitious in the decisions they make in life. Yet still, most INFJs can attest that, while they may feel decisive on the inside, that's not always how they're perceived by the outside world. So, why is that? Are INFJs really as indecisive as they seem? Welcome back, psychos. Today, we're going to be discussing exactly that, why the INFJ seems so indecisive at times. Before we get into today's video, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel, as well as to click the notification bell so that you never miss a video. So, let's get right into the video, starting with number 1. They want to be polite. Sometimes, INFJs know exactly what they want to say, but struggle with finding a caring way to say it. For the sake of kindness and maintaining harmony, INFJs avoid sharing what's on their mind, but because of this, sometimes it can make them seem unsettled in their conclusion. Especially when it comes to criticisms, opposing viewpoints, and turning down plans, this empathetic type can feel seriously distressed if they say something wrong and someone gets upset about it. In fact, sometimes they rather not say anything at all if it means they can avoid stirring the pot. For example, if an INFJ is invited out somewhere, instead of blatantly saying they're not interested or busy, the INFJ may beat around the bush by saying things like, "Well, I may have plans that evening, but I'll get in touch with them to see if they're still on." Sure, this may not be a problem at the start, but INFJs can keep this going right up until the planned occasion, with a clear knowing that they don't want to attend. In fact, this type often subconsciously relies on disassertive answers in hopes of not seeming too decisive. For example, they'll say things like, "I don't think I'm going to come," or "I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it tonight," when, in reality, they know they don't want to come and they are sure they won't be making it that night. Number 2, the ripple effect. If there's anyone that knows how deeply people's actions affect others around them, it would be the typical INFJ observer. Speaking about their empathetic nature in relation to their decision-making skills, INFJs won't make any conclusions that they haven't evaluated to the fullest. This includes how that decision will ultimately affect others. It's not necessarily about being polite in this case, but rather rooted in the importance INFJs place on their contribution to the world. This innate altruistic notion allows the INFJ to truly thrive when their actions result in positive change, but it also makes decision-making that much more meaningful, and, as a result, a little more difficult. So, they ponder, plan, and prepare with everyone's best interest in mind. This can be anything from a simple work environment decision that affects their coworkers, a crucial family decision, or even the basis in which they start a business or project. Although it may give them the title of indecisiveness, people can always count on the INFJ's decision-making skills for being the most fair and unbiased. However, when this independent type is challenged to put their own needs first, indecisiveness can reach a whole new level. Which brings us to our next point, number 3, the fight between logic and intuition. With a deep knowledge of the inner workings of not only humanity but also humans as individuals, INFJs can be challenged with multiple decision-making strategies to fall back on. Whether it's an emotional issue or a materialistic problem, this analytical type is able to see things from multiple viewpoints using both their logic and intuition. And while this dual understanding of most things can certainly be used to their advantage, sometimes INFJs can find themselves stuck in between these two clashing forces. Of course, being predominantly intuitive, naturally, INFJs have a tendency to trust their own judgment and follow their own guts. But this doesn't mean they don't second-guess this intuitive, mysterious compass. In fact, some people with this introverted, intuitive type can be easily persuaded into doubting their powerful gift due to their sensitivity and self-criticisms. The tricky thing about relying on introverted intuition is that INFJs have no choice but to follow it blindly. The destination of an intuitive decision is revealed as time goes on. Meanwhile, the destination of a logical decision can be much more predictable. For example, while it may seem more logical to keep the unfulfilling job they're at in order to pay bills, INFJs may be met with an unshakable intuitive hunch to quit and look for something else. Security versus uncertainty. It may seem irrational from the outside looking in, but when the INFJ finally does make a move, you can be sure they've spent months or even years to take that intuitive leap. Number 4. Getting lost in the bigger picture. Speaking about taking that intuitive leap, INFJs must get their heads out of the clouds and take action. If only it were that easy. On the topic of introverted intuition, the INFJ is almost always either absorbing new information or reflecting on the information they've already stored. They're constantly looking for deeper insights, deeper meanings, and deeper understandings into how everything is intertwined. This means that their inner world of thoughts is where the INFJ prefers to be, and that's anything we didn't already know. But how does this big picture view really affect their decision-making skills? Well, as helpful as this function may be for exploring new information and predicting future outcomes, it can just as easily cause the INFJ to become isolated in their thoughts, making it a serious struggle to take action in the outside world. Sometimes it's not a matter of the INFJ deciding whether or not they should do something, but rather when they're actually going to do it. Now, it's not to say that INFJs are all talk, because most of the time they won't share an idea unless they're ready to take action on it. But internally, this sense of indecisiveness is mostly rooted in an overwhelming outlook on the smaller details. They can see all the ways in which it can and will work, but are met with extreme hesitancy to take that first step. But once they finally plant their feet firmly on their ground, there's ultimately no stopping them. Number 5. Perfectionism. INFJs are undoubtedly perfectionistic by nature. They have a keen eye for detail and can easily grasp what is expected of them. However, when it comes time to make decisions based on this perfectionistic notion, it can seem almost impossible. Since they want to avoid failures at all costs, INFJs may actually find themselves avoiding situations that require them to challenge their weaknesses. For example, situations like leaving an unfulfilled relationship when there are children involved can leave an INFJ almost paralyzed in their decision-making because ultimately there is no perfect outcome. Because there's no way around the fact that they have to cause disruption in the harmony they've worked so hard for, or, without hurting other people's feelings, they may avoid making the decision entirely. Although they can see almost every outcome through their ruminating thoughts and pattern-connecting skills, the perfectionism INFJs experience makes these outcomes appear very black and white. Like, there's an option they have yet to think of that will save them from making a messy decision, and it's definitely worse when there are emotions involved. Luckily, once an INFJ really does commit to something, you can be sure they're not backing down. Number 6. Okay, maybe INFJs are a little indecisive. Alright, INFJs, we tried to make as many excuses for you as we could find, but at the end of the day, you may just be less sure of yourself than you'd like to admit. Sure, from an outside perspective, INFJs may seem like they know what they want and they know what they don't want, but nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, this paradoxical type may even surprise themselves at how right an out-of-character decision can feel. They're curious to find out what life has to offer, and they're picky when it comes to what and who they allow in. So, in order to live the elaborate life they desire to live, INFJs have a lot of decisions to make, and a lot of things to consider within those decisions. At their best, INFJs have enough willpower and conviction to follow through with their ideas and make assertive decisions along the way. At their worst, an INFJ will procrastinate, doubt themselves, or become overwhelmed before concluding. And sometimes, they may decide to not decide at all, allowing the natural ebb and flow of life to launch them where they're meant to go, or they decide. Alrighty, psychos, that's it for today. So, would you consider the INFJ personality type indecisive according to today's video? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video.